Alright, that opened up the space here a little bit. Let's see, what do I got behind the lemongrass? Oh, dope. Need to take that out. I'll tell you why in a second. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Well, you just saw me drag out my Black Madeira, and I brought them outside to hopefully clarify some of the questions I've had on Black Madeira. With the exception of one here, these are all Black Madeira, and I'll get to that exception later on. So, recently I've listed some cuttings on eBay, Black Madeira cuttings, and as far as I know, there are two versions of Black Madeira. One is sourced from UC Davis, and another one is sourced from Encanto Farms, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, a nursery out in California. Now, I first discovered figs maybe 10 years ago, and I don't remember how I initially came across and developed my interest in the figs, but initially I purchased, I think, a fig tree from Edible Landscaping, which I mentioned because I like them, especially for citrus orders. Haven't ordered them from them recently, but another online source ended up being not as reputable. I don't want to mention them. There's some strange connection with another nursery, I guess, and they're down in Georgia, I think. But I ordered a number of fig trees when I started getting involved, and before I discovered the Figs for Fun forum, which is online presence has been discontinued. I ordered from this other company that ended up being anything but what I ordered. I think I ordered like a Desert King and then LSU Purple, and they ended up not being those varieties. But when I looked more deeply into it and found the Figs for Fun forum and found out about UC Davis program, at the time they were offering figs to the general public if you wrote in the request that it was for some type of general research for information on growing figs in your particular area. I think that was a little loophole, but they've since discontinued that program because it just became too much of a demand for them as far as resources go. It became too popular, and now they just do send cuttings, I think, just to universities or people who actually are doing research on fig production or fig-related research. But I ramble on. So, before I knew that there were other versions, which is pretty recent, recently within the couple of years, because initially when I started ordering, I put in an order for figs from UC Davis, and that had a process that eventually changed. It used to be there was a form that you downloaded and filled in. I think I would pull it into like Microsoft Word and then fill in information from their online database, which had particular numbers associated with what you wanted to order. And I ordered, and you had to order early in the year for the following year. So I discovered Encanto Farms, and they had a list of available cuttings, and you just emailed that list to them with, again, numbers associated with whatever variety you were interested in ordering. So I received a couple of orders, one from UC Davis and one from Encanto Farms. And the Encanto Farms I ordered, I can't remember, it was like a Ree. I remember ordering the Ree, and that ended up, the variety was in question, but it was a unique fig. Not sure what it was. I did get rid of that mother plant, but I did a video on that, which it was a great fig one year that it produced. And so I have a Black Madeira from Encanto Farms. There were two cuttings that survived my early attempts at starting cuttings, which were initially started in vermiculite and perlite, and I since have moved away from that technique to just the bark with some soil mixture. And so yeah, I didn't know that there were different varieties or different versions of Black Madeira. It's like if you go to a nursery and you want a Golden Delicious apple or a Macintosh, you think that if you go to another nursery that is also selling a Golden Delicious or Macintosh, that's what you're getting. Well, evidently, there are different versions of this Black Madeira that are slightly different. I don't know. You can identify them, the differences by the source, but even the Encanto Farms, the information about where that source, where they got their Black Madeira from is sort of vague. There isn't hard information about, whether or not the two varieties, Encanto Farms and UC Davis, are related. There are some hardcore fig growers out there that actually spend money. I believe I've read or I've seen in the forums for DNA analysis. They've sent samples off to labs that can do that type of analysis. So I don't know how closely these two are related, or if it's just that one variety has maybe a different strain of fig mosaic virus. There are just a lot of variables here, and you have to leave that up to the scientists to come to whatever conclusions they can draw from these two different trees. But yeah, these two trees here that I'm looking at right now, those are my oldest Black Madeiras, and they're more than 8 years old. This one's 2010, and you see here, I just labeled it Black Madeira because at the time, I thought, well, I've got two Black Madeira. One was from Encanto and one was from UC Davis, but they're Black Madeira. So this one here on the left is the one that I've been taking the air layers from. And I didn't videotape it, but I had these huge figs on here that split when we had all that rain. And it has a lot of figs left over that are just starting to turn, but they're stunted because they're basically, the sap is not flowing anymore, the tree's shutting down, leaves are going to start coming off. And with the colder temperatures, I surmise that it just, like the material doesn't become as flexible. And you can see even like a small one there is splitting wide open with just the watering that I've done in the lean-to. So at this stage, this late in the season, they pretty much look identical. I mean, the leaves are a little smaller here. But yeah, you've seen the quality of the fig that is off of this tree, even off of the air layers that I removed this year. And I've removed several air layers from this tree. It just produces air layers off of this mass here. But at this stage, I'm looking at these two, it's like they identical leaves. The leaves kind of beat up now at the end of the season, and they're sort of small. And then here is the UC Davis. I'm surmising the UC Davis. Again, I did not keep track of these cuttings, but I remember that one survived from Encanto Farms, and one survived from UC Davis at that time, 8 years ago, which is a long time to recall. So here is a fig on this tree here that it's very stiff and firm, but it looks like fig syrup, but it's very hard, so this isn't going to taste any good. But it's interesting that it has, that's congealed, that's like amber or pine sap. And I just recently sold a cutting off of this tree here that I sort of regretted. I had separation anxiety. I shipped it out, and realized that that was the video that I did on the very first Black Madeira that was produced this year. And if you look at that video, first Black Madeira of 2018 here, that was the epitome of the Black Madeira, large, dark, red interior, syrupy, although it wasn't as red as I thought it was going to be. It was a young tree. It was only 2 years old. I started from cutting last year. Unlike what I usually do is the air layers, I sort of have gravitated away from doing some cuttings, but I might do that again just so I can get more Black Madeira quicker from this Encanto Farms version. But yeah, if you look at this late in the season, there's really, it's really hard to discern the difference between them. But the end result, this tree here really did not produce those large figs. Like I said, this one here, I wish I had videotaped it. It had these huge figs that just split wide open. I have one, a green one, that I can show you. It actually has figs on it that are typical of what we're all looking for as far as the KK version or the Encanto Farms version. But so you can see here, it's sort of a grayish tone to it. These small ones here, even though they're starting to turn, they're just, you know, I need to just cut them off instead of having all the energy, whatever energy it's able to put into them at this stage. It's just wasted, and I need to just break them off today before I pull this back into the lean-to. Well, let's take a look inside this one. Oh, that just fell off, basically. Yeah, it's kind of stiff. Yeah, that's what that looks like. What I surmise is the UC Davis. There's another one. I feel this one's kind of soft though. But that looks good. Let's give that a try. Yeah. Not as good as the Encanto Farms version. You can see it's a little smaller. This one's soft too. That's what the inside of that looks like. And that's kind of bland and starchy or raw flavor. Yeah, so those are all the figs that I removed from the two older Black Madeira trees. Yeah, now this here is a UC Davis, my mind's wandering here, Col de Dame Blanc, which I thought I was going to get rid of, but like I said, you start getting separation anxiety even when you start making cuts. So I have some cuttings listed from this variety. Like I said, it leaves me hanging. It's just, maybe if it gets older, but I do have a green variety with the Ponta Teresa. That's a green variety with a red interior. I need to check the leaf pattern. I wonder if there's any similarities. I never thought of looking at that. But back to Black Madeira. Now I do have Black Madeira that from day one, from receiving the cuttings, when you used to be able to get those packages from UC Davis, it was so exciting to receive that package of those cuttings. I kept track of those cuttings from day one, so I do have a couple of Black Madeira UC Davis that I know 100%, no doubt whatsoever, it is UC Davis. And here's one of them. I started in 2012. I actually removed some cuttings from this and was thinking of getting rid of this mother tree since I have, it's like I said, this is the 2013 and this is the 2012. So, okay, so now on to look what we have here. Now, Get that pot in the background. It's going to be distracting having that moving around in the wind, so let me get that out of the shot here. So, embarrassingly, the other day, I slapped a tag on this. Maltese Beauty, if you recall. Nope, not Maltese Beauty, sorry. Made a mistake. Hey, you make mistakes, right? But take a look at this. Right, remember I said I was having separation anxiety when I got rid of that Black Madeira that produced this great fig? Well, does that look familiar? This is the Encanto Farms version of Black Madeira. I do not recall if this was an air layer that I kept. You can see this definitely is an older tree. I think this probably was an air layer. So I'm sort of relieved that I do now have another Encanto Farms. But yeah, this was the one that I just took out when I went dope. This was behind the lemongrass. And this is the one that I mentioned in another video about. I thought it was Black Madeira, and I hesitated because I was looking at the leaves. They were a little bit different. So this label has to be removed and go on to this. So let me do that right now. So that makes me feel a little bit better. Giving up that. That's the one thing about growing figs is you get attached. There's so much time and effort you put into them. So there we go. Maltese Beauty, another one that I got rid of, and from the mother tree, and then end up keeping that cutting that barely had roots on it from an air layer. Now this one here really throws me because, as you can see from these two UC Davis, other than the other one, the one that's in the pot, but it's 8 years old, these are more like a bush shape. They're very small. I have been limiting the trees by keeping them in these small containers, I guess. But they're smaller. I mean, these are, that one's 5 years old, and this one here is 6 years old, you know? So it could be that I just have stunted them because I've kept them in these smaller containers. Yeah, so I'm trying to think of as much information as possible. So, okay, so here is the Black Madeira that everybody's looking for. So you got the cracking here, the bell-shaped, the large fig. You really, I can say with like 90% confidence, you really don't get this on the UC Davis. You get a great fig, don't get me wrong, on the UC Davis version, but there's just this slight, the leaves are identical between, the leaves are cleaner, I think, on the Encanto Farms, but the patterns are the same. The leaf shape is the same. So like I said earlier, it would take the scientists to figure out what exactly is the difference between these two varieties. So here is, you know, the fig that we're all striving for, I guess. This one here has some cracking. It is soft, but this isn't going to do much more. It has some green. It's really soft. You can see there it fell off. What's going on there? Yeah, the sap is shutting down. The tree's shutting down. There's no sap. But let's open this up. That looks kind of weird. It's green. Let me stop the camera for a sec because I'm doing this with one hand. Okay, so yeah, that's it. That's the Black Madeira that everybody, I guess, wants. Do I see anything moving in there? Look at the eye. There's no way anything to get in that eye. But this is going to be cold, and it's just not going to be sweet. Let me give it a little bit of a taste. I take that back. Other than the cold, I don't know what it is. It's just the warming fig. Maybe it's the ideal temperature of having a fig is a little bit is warm. But this is good. Hold, give me a second. I think I did just get a little bit of a mold flavor from that split. I think that was what was going on with that exposed area, but surprisingly, this is sweet. Yeah, this is, that's good. I gotta keep on reminding myself, I mean, for the end of October, that's good. Now, this is what they do. It's almost like an alien. They open up like that when they're green and the cold weather comes in. It's like a perfect environment for the fruit flies. But yeah, so yeah, definitely this is what you get with the Encanto Farms. But yeah, okay, finishing my thought on this one. This one's throwing me for a loop because it actually is a sort of a bush shape, but look at all the figs on this. I mean, production-wise, I mean, it's leaving me hanging. And again, if this is in a southern state, can you imagine the production you're going to get? But for me, this is what it's leaving me. It's just leaving me with disappointment. But here's the leaf shape. Yeah, this one here is one that I don't know. I think I'd say that it's the UC Davis. But the leaves are pretty clean on this one. Yeah, that's a question. That's a question. So, I hope this has given you some information. I mean, you know, can you imagine being a nursery and you're trying to keep track of everything? It's just going to be more difficult. With the fig, you have to have the leaf pattern. You have to have the end result, which is the fig. And then you have to know the source. And then, you know, what if the source made a mistake? You just have to go with the end product. So, you know, that's the information that I can give you as far as my knowledge and experience with Black Madeira, the Encanto Farms, and the UC Davis. All I can tell you is that when I do list some of these cuttings, you know, maybe I should just label this Black Madeira A, Black Madeira B. But when I say it's UC Davis Black Madeira, as in this case here, I know for 100% that I kept track of them since receiving the cutting. And then there are others that, you know, I just figured that I could keep track of by the end result. Let's see. Hopefully the audio is good on this because I put some gauze over the microphone because it's a little breezy. Little weather update. I was surprised. I had the TV on. I was in the another room, and the weather came on, and I heard the word nor'easter. So, yeah, we're getting our first nor'easter on Saturday. It's going to be rain. You know, it's too early to get a snowstorm, significant snowstorm, but we are getting our first nor'easter. So this is New England gardening. The breeze picking up, and that's the information I can give you on the Black Madeiras and the Black Madeira trees that I currently have in my possession. And for the best of my ability, telling you where they're sourced from and the state of each individual plant here and what they can produce. So again, this is probably one that I want to start taking more cuttings from and producing more plants from. And I'll end the video here, I guess. I think I about covered everything that I wanted to say. So this is New England Gardening. Sorry for rambling on. Just hopefully I've covered all the bases and have given you the information that you'd like to know about Black Madeira. Thanks for watching. Oh, just one last thing I wanted to mention. I will list some more Black Madeira where you have 2 cuttings from each tree here, but I'm waiting for those free flat rate boxes that I ordered from the U.S. Postal Service, which I should be getting either today, maybe tomorrow. But I did already sell 4 Black Madeiras, worth 2 each from each of these trees here, and it's sold. So hopefully people consider that a value, and I'll be listing that combination again, but I'm waiting for some of those flat rate boxes. Thanks again. Bye. Yeah, these are starting to just fall off.